Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our country has to offer, especially health care. Across every state, every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, the war is raging there in the Middle East. And Vice President J.D. Vance speaking out a little bit ago saying this war will end. It has clear objectives. The president today at the White House saying our mission is clear. Listen to President Trump, who had the courage to do what he did to take out the leader in Iran and 49 others, as well as now we're hearing 11 Navy ships by Iran in the Sea of Arabia. I mean, what an extraordinary, unparalleled mission. And here is President Trump talking about what the objectives are of Operation Epic Fury.
Let me provide a brief update on Operation Epic Fury. Today, the United States military continues to carry out large-scale combat operations in Iran to eliminate the grave threats posed to America by this terrible terrorist regime. Following our obliteration of Iran's nuclear program in Operation Midnight Hammer a short while ago, we warned Iran not to make any attempt to rebuild at a different location because they were unable to use the ones that we so powerfully blew up. But they ignored those warnings and refused to cease their pursuit of nuclear weapons. In addition, the regime's conventional ballistic missile program was growing rapidly and dramatically, and this posed a very clear, colossal threat to America and our forces stationed overseas. The regime already had missiles capable of hitting Europe and our bases, both local and overseas, and would soon have had missiles capable of reaching our beautiful America. The purpose of this fast-growing missile program was to shield their nuclear weapon development and make it extraordinarily difficult for anyone to stop them from making these highly forbidden by us nuclear weapons. We were the ones that were complaining. We were the ones that wanted it stopped, but everybody was behind us. They just didn't have the courage to say so. An Iranian regime armed with long-range missiles and nuclear weapons would be an intolerable threat to the Middle East, but also to the American people. Our country itself would be under threat, and it was very nearly under threat. I was very proud to have knocked out the Iran nuclear deal by President Barack Hussein Obama. That was a horrible, horrible, dangerous document. They would have had nuclear weapons 3 years ago, and they would have used them. But I'll not let that happen.
President Trump having the courage, the bravery, along with Netanyahu, to go forward on this. And here is General Dan Raisin Kane. I love that. He is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who says there is a message to anybody, any adversary who wants to take on the U.S. and Israeli military.
To those who would test our resolve or threaten the United States, our allies, or our interests, understand clearly we can reach you, we can sustain the fight, and we can scale the fight, and we will prevail. To the American people, your joint force remains steady, frosty, calm, and focused. Your service members are trained, disciplined, and determined. We understand the risks of this mission and the weight of the responsibility that we carry. We also recognize that our families also shoulder the burden at home. You are a part of this too. I am proud today, as I am every day, to stand as a member of America's joint force. There is no mission too complex, no distance too great, and no adversary too determined for the men and women who wear our nation's uniform. We mourn our fallen, we honor their families, and we continue our mission with focus, unity, and strength. And now I'm happy to take any questions.
Well, there are a lot of questions coming from Democrats, that's for sure. I can't believe some of the rhetoric, guys, that I have heard from American politicians that are saying, well, why did we go after Iran? It sounded like Matt from the Bronx who just called, trying to say, oh, why? Why would we ever go after those nice, sweet people like the Ayatollahs that are murdering 30,000 plus of their own people? They seem like such nice people. I mean, what is wrong with these people? So here is Congressman Jason Crow. He's a Democrat from Colorado. He was on MS Now, and he actually threw out this line as if Iran is some peaceful regime, sort of like what Matt was trying to sell us.
It's some undefined, imminent threat, which, by the way, is a lie, right? There is no imminent threat. I sit on the Intelligence Committee, Armed Services Committee. I pay very close attention to this, and there is no imminent threat. I can tell you that.
Well, obviously, he needs to get the wax out of his ears because after like 3 minutes on the Intelligence Committee, you would be able to figure out what a threat Iran poses to the freedom-loving world. And yet, for some reason, Jason Crow just can't figure that out. He seems to think they're not a threat at all. You've got a nuclear potential terrorist regime that has ballistic missiles, that has continued production, that has continued to thumb its nose at the international community. And yet he doesn't seem to think that that's a problem. What do you think Iran would do if they got a nuclear weapon? I think it would be hell on earth. I have no doubt that they would use it. And that's why I say bravo to President Trump and also Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for having the courage to do an unbelievable feat for the world. This is not just for our freedom, it's for the world's freedom. And yet, people like Jason Crow and also New York City Mayor Zoran Mandani had to chime in. I mean, this guy, first of all, does he think that he is like a world leader? He's not. He's the mayor of New York City, and he was a rapper before this. He was a Queens assemblyman and a rapper. That's it. An unremarkable rapper and an unremarkable Queens assemblyman. And now he is chiming in and was one of the first people in America to essentially condemn these attacks on Iran with this kind of language. Listen to this, which undermines America's efforts, and shame on this mayor. Listen to this.
These military strikes by the United States and Israel mark a catastrophic escalation in an illegal act of war, of aggression. Bombing cities, killing civilians, opening up a new theater of war. Americans do not want this. Americans do not want another war in pursuit of regime change. We want an answer to the affordability crisis. We want peace. Now, I may be a young mayor, but I am old enough to remember the devastating consequences of our country's pursuit of regime change in this same region not that many years ago. Now, my focus is on keeping New Yorkers safe. I've been in close contact with our police commissioner and emergency management officials. We are increasing agency coordination as well as patrols of sensitive locations out of an abundance of caution. And additionally, I want to speak directly to Iranian New Yorkers. You are a part of the fabric of this city. You are our students, our artists, our small business owners, our neighbors, our community leaders. You will be safe here.
You'll be safe here. Listen to him saying, don't go after nice, sweet Iran. What is wrong with Mayor Zoran Mandani? Doesn't he read the room? There is a huge Iranian American population, as he just described, in New York. And guess what they're doing? They're cheering and saying, thank you, President Trump, and thank you, Benjamin Netanyahu, because maybe finally Iran will have freedom and will have leadership that it deserves, that it elects. as a free society, as a very civilized free society, as an educated society, which it was before all this craziness with the mullahs years ago. And yet Zoran Mandani is saying, why are we doing this war? He's not even listening to his own constituents who are out there cheering in the streets in New York and other cities across this country, in fact. But no, Zoran Mandani took it upon himself to condemn this war, saying it's an illegal war. What does he think of a terrorist regime with a nuclear weapon? Is that illegal? Is that immoral? 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Alice in Ohio, line 1. Go ahead, Alice. Your thoughts tonight.
Hi, Rita. Last time we spoke, you said that Iran government was promising their terrorists hundreds of virgins if they followed through with their terrorism. And I'm so proud of our President Trump because he made that introduction possible. And we have to continue. We have to continue until they're all gone, every one of them. This is for peace. It's unfortunate that we have to go at it this way. Can you imagine the weight on his shoulders to have to make that decision?
It's a remarkable. And then also, what we heard, Alice, today, too, was that President Trump gave the go-ahead at 3:38 p.m. On Friday when they received intelligence that there was going to be a breakfast meeting with the Ayatollah and with these other leaders. And they usually strike at night. They wanted some sort of element of surprise, but sort of the opportunity presented itself. And that's when President Trump said, along with Israel, let's do it. Let's give the go-ahead. It was brilliant and it was courageous, but it was also the right decision. Here we have an opportunity to change the course of history. And so, but there are a lot of other leaders and many other American presidents. I don't know what intel they had or did not have on the Ayatollah, but they certainly had chances, I'm sure. And they clearly didn't take it. And here we are. Instead, many of them send pallets of cash in the middle of the night to Iran. And yet President Trump repeatedly said they will not get a nuclear weapon under my watch. We cannot have them getting a nuclear weapon. And then he just saw a regime that was clearly not cooperating. I mean, Alice, what I give him a lot of credit for, he kept trying. I mean, I have no doubt in my mind, knowing President Trump, that had they come forward, even, at 3:37 on Friday and said, here's the proof. We are absolutely going to be giving up our nuclear weapons program. We're not going to be doing enrichment. We're going to have, inspectors in. We're going to give up our ballistic missile. We're going to do all these things. If they had said that, I think President Trump would not have clearly taken the shot. He absolutely saw this as a last resort, but he also knew that you had to take it if there was a change to change the course of history, because doing nothing certainly doesn't help either. And obviously he could tell that Iran was stalling for time, stalling for this, stalling for that, trying to, play games. And he finally said enough, but he clearly waited because, it wasn't any secret that we were building up military might there, Alice. And yet, it could have gone either way, and it probably could have gone any way until 3:37, and then 3:38. It was like, okay, we got this intel. Can you imagine what that moment must have been, Alice, when someone comes and tells you, hey, listen, we've got a meeting with Hitler and it's 49 people. Will you take it out? Anybody who loves the world would say yes. And thank goodness President Trump said yes and Israel said yes, right?
Absolutely. And if they just played for time, they would have been over here with a nuclear bomb.
I have no doubt. I mean, look, they're shouting, death to America, death to Israel. Clearly, their mission is to destroy Israel and America. They always call Israel, the little Satan, and America's the big Satan. There's no doubt in my mind. And look, they're going right now. They're hitting civilian targets. They're doing whatever they can, trying to rile up their proxies, too, to do whatever they can as well. So, I have no doubt you cannot have a madman or a mad regime with the most dangerous weapon in the world. And if you have a chance to stop it, you better stop it for the good of the world's security. And thank goodness President Trump has the courage, the intellect, the patience to wait to that moment, to the right moment. I believe that they're going to be talking about that strike for centuries to come, Alice. I really firmly believe that hit on the Ayatollah and 49 others at the same time in a daytime breakfast meeting, that will go down as one of the greatest military feats, I think, recorded in world history. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm repeating myself. The courage it took to send all of these people into a theater of war. I can't imagine it. We are so lucky to have a man like this leading the country. And this man, who is it, the Democrat that said that that we were wrong doing this? I don't think he's going to the meetings.
Yeah, Jason Crow, who said he's on the intelligence. I mean, what briefing was he hearing that everybody else who was in the meeting clearly hears? Exactly. For him to say I'm in the meetings and that's not the case, that's a disgrace. And obviously, this is a man who wants the nuclear bomb coming to our door? No, thank you. If that doesn't show America, who are these individuals who care about the homeland and who want more appeasement? Where did that get us? Nowhere. Alice, thank you very much. Really great to hear from you. 1-800-848-9222, and everybody will continue more after the break.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
At Manhattan University, a graduate degree is not out of reach. You'll gain real-world skills, credentials employers value, and connections to New York City's top companies. Choose from their new Master of Science degrees in healthcare informatics, digital marketing and analytics, business analytics, or financial analytics, all built around hands-on learning and industry partnerships. Graduate ready to lead, not just work. Take the next step at manhattan.edu/graduate. Manhattan University. Lead the future. Greg Kelly here. Donate now to toysfortots.org, working year-round, delivering hope to children at Christmas time and beyond. In 2024, Toys for Tots provided over 30 million toys to nearly 13 million children in need. Donate now, please. Go to toysfortots.org. Since 1947, Toys for Tots has distributed 708 million toys to 314 million deserving children. Working year-round, Toys for Tots. Donate now. Go to toysfortots.org. That's toysfortots.org.
LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return,
but I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though.
I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
This is the Rita Cosby Show.
And at this hour, there is a large plume of smoke over Beirut, Lebanon. You would assume that that is an Israeli attack hitting at some sort of Hezbollah infrastructure, because now that proxy group has joined the fight with Iran. That, of course, is not a surprise, but Israel throwing it right back to them. And also, so far, a lot of these other Arab countries are saying, don't attack us. The other big news is that the U.S. Embassy apparently has been hit in Riyadh tonight. That comes after the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia came out and said, how dare you, Iran, essentially do this to us, when there was an attack on one of their oil fields. You could tell that Iran is trying to be as disruptive as possible on the world oil market, also in terms of any sort of U.S. facility, but they're also targeting civilian targets, hitting a major hotel or two in Dubai, also hitting the airports. They're trying to wreak fear into many of their Arab neighbors, hoping that they're going to say enough is enough. However, there are reports that the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia privately was telling President Trump, I hope that you take it out on Iran.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Rita Cosby is on.
As smoke is filling the sky over Beirut, Lebanon right now, and much of the Middle East dealing with incoming assaults from Iran. In Beirut, Lebanon, it is Israel responding to attacks from Hezbollah on its north. And many people wondering what is the next step. I will say it was utterly courageous of President Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu. Thank goodness we have two courageous leaders in charge. Think about how different life would be if it was Joe Biden in the White House or if it was an apologist in Israel's leadership. It's this moment of history. It's these two leaders working together that had the courage to change the course of history. And yet, Democrats, if Trump cured cancer, they'd go after him. Well, listen to Adam Schiff. Adam Shifty Schiff, because, of course, he started criticizing, saying this isn't nice to go after the Ayatollah, President Trump. Listen to what he had to say over the weekend.
The Ayatollah Khamenei led a regime that brutalized its own people, launched attacks around the world for almost 40 years. So is the president right to take him out?
No, you're right about the Ayatollah. He was a brutal dictator. This is a murderous regime. But at the same time, it posed no imminent threat of attack to the United States.
All I have to say is, how stupid is he? How dangerous is he? Are you supposed to wait, until somebody's literally at your door to say, okay, well, now I can respond to somebody with a nuclear weapon? He knows darn well what a huge threat this is. And I'm sure if it had been Biden or Obama or Clinton in the White House and they were doing this action, Adam Schiff would be salivating and saying what a great moment this is. And that's what's really despicable, because he should do what's right for America, for Israel, for the world. And he has company, unfortunately. He's got Senator Chris Murphy, who was one of the Gang of Eight that actually gets briefed on all these things. And listen to what he had to say. Somehow he kind of convoluted it with ICE, with Immigrations and Customs Enforcement. Listen to this doozy.
About the Americans, though, around the world right now. There's also, from the FBI and Homeland Security, concern about cyber vulnerabilities and potential threats to infrastructure. They've put out alerts about this. Given the current situation, Republicans are calling on Democrats to consider stopping the position you've taken, which is to halt some funding to Homeland Security. Do you feel you need to reconsider this position?
So the Republicans are saying that because they launched an illegal, disastrous war in Iran, we should give them permission to continue using ICE to murder American citizens, to allow them to get the funding to tear gas schools. No, we need to stand up for the American citizens that ICE is murdering, the kids that they are terrorizing. They should stop this illegal war, and they should stop ICE from terrorizing our communities. We should demand that they do both things.
Well, the administration would say they have adjusted some of the way they're carrying out policies within DHS.
They have not. They have not. I mean, just because some of the world's and the nation's attention has turned away from Minneapolis, that doesn't mean that they aren't still brutalizing American citizens. We just discovered last week that they had left a Burmese immigrant for dead 5 miles from his home, blind and disabled. This brutality is continuing in the country. We can do two things at once. We can demand that ICE stop murdering American citizens, and we can demand that the administration not send our kids to die for a war that we don't need.
So you believe...
That's amazing. Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut, Democrat, saying, okay, ICE is out there murdering. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, making sure who's in our country, along with Customs and Border Protection, And I would think right now might be a really good idea to make sure that we don't have sleeper cells in this country. You got a guy in Austin, Texas over the weekend who opened fire on a bar. And he just happened to have a I Love Allah sweatshirt on. And then underneath had a T-shirt that had the Iranian flag. Whether he is part of a group or a lone wolf inspired, that's why you got to worry about who's in our country and defend the homeland and try to vet people as carefully as possible. But then you got Chris Murphy saying it's, ICE is out there on the attack. These people really, I almost want the demise of America. It's shocking to me. Utterly shocking. Let's go to Joaquin in Pennsylvania on line 1. Joaquin, your thoughts tonight. This truly is, I'll say, an amazing moment. I want to herald President Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, two men that I have met and interviewed and spent time with, two courageous lions of history.
Rita, she's so right. And first thing I want to say is this. You know what? You did a really great job in taking on Matt there, and I applaud you for that. And there's things that I don't understand, and I'm starting to get the suspicion that maybe perhaps, it shouldn't mean anything, but maybe Matt is Palestinian because he's really speaking with such passion, when it comes down to that subject. And
yeah, he sure is. And suddenly, this whole issue has gotten his cork, and he is so anti-Israel. I mean, and to me, it's anti-values of America. I mean, he's equating Ayatollah with Prime Minister Netanyahu. He's got a screw loose.
Yeah, but you see, he's not the only one. There's just so many people in this country, and I made a statement the other night. On another show. I should have saved it for yours. But I'm tired of living now in a country of masochists that seem to want to be conquered. Is what is apparent. There's so many people that for some reason want to. You throw Israel under the bus, you're throwing us under the bus. You're throwing us Western civilization under the bus. And I'm sorry to say, I hope it is becoming very abundantly clear that who our allies are not. And England is not our ally. France is not our ally. The EU is not our ally. And it's time that we really start to reorganize and to start really, considering who our allies really are. Because they're going to drive us. They're going to drive us off the edge. Is what's going to happen.
What did you make of Keir Starmer too, especially who's the UK Prime Minister? I mean, he was like waffling like I have never seen somebody waffle, Joaquin, and that's really frightening to me. Because you think about it's always called the sort of American and British special relationship. And I brought up Winston Churchill. Just think about what a courageous man that was, and think about that moment. Had we not had a Winston Churchill there, during World War II, think about how different things would be.
I think that, we need to wake up and really take a serious look at what's going on in England, because, the English government, the people, the political powers over there, they have completely thrown their own people under the bus, and they're undermining their own society. And, if you really think back on this one, I don't know if you remember how Bill Clinton, I think it was Bill Clinton, was saying that he thought it was unfair that we had military supremacy over everybody else in the world, and that maybe everybody else would catch up to us, that there's a playing field all the way around. Do you remember that?
Yes.
The ideology? How ridiculous is that?
Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And here we are in this moment, Joaquin. I'm telling you, this is I really do believe this is a pivotal moment in history. K.T. McFarland, who we talked with earlier today, she described it sort of the fall of the Berlin Wall. I want to play this actually, Joaquin, because to me, this really describes this moment and where courage is needed. We talked with her earlier. She was a former deputy national security advisor under Trump in the first administration. Here's KT.
If what's going on is probably on par with the fall of the Berlin Wall. And here's why. Only the United States could do this. Only the United States had the courage to do this. And what they're doing is absolutely, America first strategy, but it also is changing the entire geostrategic chessboard. Now, how are they doing that? Well, it turns out that the Iranian government is probably, the Iranian government doesn't exist anymore in the senior leadership of the Iranian military. And so not only has the top tier of all of the leadership in Iran now gone, vaporized, but they're also attacking and destroying the Iranian Navy, particularly the Iranian nuclear facilities, nuclear enrichment plants, and particularly also the Iranian missile development and missile sites. So by doing all of this, they're giving Iran a chance, but most importantly, they're taking away the threat to the United States.
She equates it to the fall of the Berlin Wall. Joaquin, thank you so much. I always love your thoughts. Thanks so much. Let's go to Tony on line 3 in Clifton. Tony, your thoughts on this historic day?
Rita, the maps are all over the dining room wall, and I pray for Israel and the Middle East every day. Here's my thought today. When we were asked, when our president is asked, why is this action so eminent, so necessary, this strike that we did? You know why? The reason, so many reasons logistically. But remember, we used to go over everything that Joseph Robinette Biden did in his term. And I'm reading to you, Iran's stockpile of hard currency skyrocketed during the Biden administration from just $4 billion at the end of 2020 to $31 billion by the end of 2021. And that's just taking it up to that point in time. Do you know that the actions of that administration has caused the attack in Israel in 2023 at those musical concerts where those people were ravaged?
Now is your point because of the funding, because they were rife and flush with money?
They were flush with money, and it never happened before. This is their fault, and this really, Rita Cosby, did not happen, just like the Ukrainian war didn't happen under President Trump. So why do we need to do it now? Because if their production and their cash doesn't stop, we could all, the world, get blown up one day. They are so radical. And what do you need to do that? Money.
Yeah, absolutely. And you brought up a great point, because not only was it Iran was flush, but it was all their proxies, because it was Hamas was flush. And they were emboldened, too. I mean, not just financially, Tony, but also, mentally, they were emboldened. They knew that they could kind of get away with it. So that's why they took so many of these different actions during that period. And, and also the waffling. Let's not forget also, Tony, the waffling by Joe Biden. Every time I think of Joe Biden and Chuck Schumer, too, by the way, who threw Netanyahu under the bus. He is the highest ranking Jewish American leader in politics, Chuck Schumer. And he threw, remember, Netanyahu under the bus, and was clearly doing it, I think, in very much coordination with Joe Biden. Both of them were throwing Netanyahu under the bus when he was trying to take actions to protect himself. Well, should he do this? Should he not do this? It sent a message of weakness, and it emboldened the enemies, and it emboldened these ne'er-do-wells that are Iran and clearly all of its proxies. And the last thing you want is somebody who was ready to have their proxies do what they did on October 7th. You want that group to have a nuclear weapon? I don't think so. And I agree with you. It would be hell on earth. So I say bravo, bravo, Tony. I'm telling you, I had tears in my eyes when I saw what President Trump had done, and Netanyahu, that coordination, and taking out the Ayatollah and the 49 others. It was remarkable. And that will go down, as I've said, as one of the greatest feats in military history ever, ever, ever. Our great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren are going to read about that and go, wow, how did they do that? That is remarkable. That is A+ intelligence, A+ coordination. Just the way that they were able to send messages that they were actually doing something else. Meanwhile, they were preparing this strike. It was brilliant, and it was an A+ execution. And that isn't just luck. That's remarkable planning and talent. And that is the best militaries in the world. And that is the U.S. and the Israelis. Let's go to Pete in Staten Island, line 2. Go ahead, Pete. Your thoughts tonight.
Rita, this was some day, and I'm telling you, he did everything picture perfect with his people, with Pete Hegseth and stuff. They took out naval carriers that could have went out with the planes, got them close enough to bomb New York City, and they're gone. They're destroyed, and everything else. And they got two of the leaders. They got the leader, and then the guy that was going to be second in charge. Now, what my wife says, she knows history a little bit better than me. She's hoping the prince comes back that was there, that ran very good.
Yeah, he's one of the guys, Reza Pahlavi. I've met Reza Pahlavi, the prince. I've interviewed him through the years. And he certainly is somebody who a lot of people are talking about. They're also talking about members of the MEK group. This is Miriam Rajavi is another one. And then there are other ones, too. Like there may be some sort of comprehensive coalition because there's a couple different groups. And I actually hope that if they can't kind of find a one individual, that they come together. Even short term, and then, create democratic elections, really give them the democracy and option to have free and fair elections, without anybody with terrorist ties involved. That really is the key. And anybody with any baggage in the country, too. But first, we got to continue obliterating, to your point, Pete, because we did take out the number one. We took out the number two. We took out a lot of them, but there's still a few more left. But so far, America and Israel have done a masterclass on military attack. It's been extraordinary. Pete, thank you very much. And everybody, we're going to continue your calls after the break. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. But first, support our heroes.
The Rita Cosby Show presents Support Our Heroes.
And this is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Support Our Heroes segment with a very powerful story from Washington, D.C. And I think the founder of Tunnel to Towers Foundation, Frank Siller, I think he was at this big event today. I think I saw him there. I was watching it on TV, the big Medal of Honor event, and President Trump awarding the Medal of Honor to 3 U.S. Army soldiers, 2 of them posthumously, and another one who was there in person. And the 2 posthumous of them, one of them was Staff Sergeant Michael Ollis. Now, you may recall, I've talked about him before, this extraordinary young man who left us way too soon. Staff Sergeant Michael Ollis was only 24 years old, and he was there in Afghanistan and showed remarkable heroism and remarkable gallantry. What he did on August 28th, 2013, there was a complex enemy attack involving vehicle-borne improvised explosive devices, suicide vests, indirect fire, and small arms fire was launched against the forward operating base where he was serving as an infantryman. He located a coalition forces soldier, a Polish soldier, and together they moved forward towards the point of attack without their personal protective equipment and armed only with rifles, knowing time was of the essence. While under continuous small arms, indirect, and rocket-propelled fires, Staff Sergeant Michael Ollis and his comrades moved from position to position, engaging the enemy with accurate and effective fire. Then, with complete disregard for his own safety, putting others so far above himself, Staff Sergeant Michael Ollis positioned himself between the insurgent and the Polish soldier who had been wounded and unable to walk. He incapacitated the attacker, but the latter's suicide vest was detonated, mortally killing Staff Sergeant Michael Ollis. I've had the honor to meet Bob and Linda Ollis, his incredible parents. They live in Staten Island, and we are so lucky to have ever met them, to spend time with them, and I feel like I know their incredibly heroic son through them. And just a few hours ago, he was given the highest military honor, awarded the Medal of Honor by President Trump. I don't think there was a dry eye in the place. And the Polish soldier whose life he saved got up there and talked about it, and also talked about, showed his young son, who is named Michael after Staff Sergeant Michael Ollis. Heroes among us. And everybody, help America to never, ever forget. Donate $11 a month to the incredible Tunnel to Towers Foundation. They are the absolute best at T2T.org. That's T, the number 2, T.org.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. It's the Rita Cosby Show.
And let's go really quick to the mic on the Lower East Side. Line 4, Mike, real quick.
How you doing? Thank you, Rita, for being on the side of Israel, and God bless you, and God bless Israel always. And, and I don't know what more to say,
Yeah, well, you know what? That does say it all. God bless America, God bless Israel, and God bless everybody who loves freedom. See ya, Ayatollah.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
At Manhattan University, a graduate degree is not out of reach. You'll gain real-world skills, credentials employers value, and connections to New York City's top companies. Choose from their new Master of Science degrees in healthcare informatics, digital marketing and analytics, business analytics, or financial analytics, all built around hands-on learning and industry partnerships. Graduate ready to lead, not just work. Take the next step at manhattan.edu/graduate. Manhattan University. Lead the future.